Hello, this is Mad Cat, and welcome to another edition of Boobs and Dicks Smash the Matriarchy. As always, I'm Dix, and there's no boobs, unfortunately. Vanessa had a last-minute thing come up. She might catch the show in the middle to the near end, maybe. Just keep watching, and maybe she'll appear. But I do have some very special guests with me today. I have someone who really inspires a lot of the articles you see on here. Like every article I get on here, like 90% comes from Prentice Reed. How you doing?
Hey.
Prentice?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay. And next is a new person that I've met recently who's like hilarious on her channel, Babbling Brook. How are you doing today?
Sorry. I'm doing great. How are you doing, Chris?
I'm fantastic. And
Great.
feel free to call me Mad Cat.
Mad Cat, sorry.
All right, so we have a standard show today, so we'll go ahead and do a screen share and get that started. And we'll start with William Shatner, one of the greatest men ever. He's also a big jerk, but, you know, I think he deserves to be a jerk, you know. So, he is now in a feud with the Mary Sue. Now, it started Monday when the Mary Sue published a piece criticizing William Shatner for making remarks that could be constructed as anti-feminist. Rather than just own up to the compliments, the thespian set phasers to flame war. Wow, you know, if you're going to make a Star Trek reference, do it correctly. It just makes you look bad. As the skirmish occurred at the intersection of sci-fi geekdom and intra-media Twitter feuding, some context may be necessary. Now, Mary Sue contributor Jarrah Hodge reported that Shatner, while attending a Star Trek event in Montreal, jokingly said, "A woman's place is in the fridge." He repeated the phrase a couple of times. Hodge noted the line's similarity to the women in refrigerators trope, which in brief refers to recurring motif of male protagonists being motivated to revenge because the women in their lives have suffered from some sort of violence or been killed. It seems unlikely he was aware of the feminist critique, but it's hard to think of a way that Shatner's comments could have possibly been respectful to women. I won't really go into what Hodge said because it's basically a lot of what we've already said. Now, Shatner has stated that this is a joke, and it actually refers to a documentary that he did called The Captains. And in it, he interviews each captain that appeared in Star Trek, including Kate Mulgrew, who was there. And there was a part of the video of the movie where he's sitting in a cardboard box waiting for Kate Mulgrew to come. She didn't know that he was doing this. And that's where the joke originates. And it became an inside joke for the both of them. It had nothing to do with putting a woman in her place. Now, William Shatner can sometimes be an asshole at conventions, but I think a lot of celebrities can kind of get that way after doing it over and over again, and especially just telling the same stories. They kind of get frustrated a little bit. Doesn't make it right, but, you know, he's having a joke with Kate Mulgrew, and then, you know, the fans are kind of attacking him, so he's kind of just dishing it back.
A joke? What's that? What's that? You know, feminists don't really have a sense of humor. And they definitely aren't Star Trek fans. So, you know, they like to pretend that they're part of nerd culture by putting on the nerd glasses. But it's
holding a controller in their hands and taking pictures.
Yeah. But it's
yeah, try turning the controller on.
But I mean, it's blatantly obvious that they don't watch the show.
I agree. I think that William Shatner. I think it's understandable. You know what you said. You're right. It doesn't make it right that he's kind of a dick at conventions and stuff. But at the same time, people don't, just like the same way that feminists don't look at men as real people. They sure as hell do not look at a male celebrity as a real person. I mean, that's like even worse than regular men to them, you know.
But
So they can't look at it from his perspective and understand, you know, hey, look at how many years he's been dealing with this. Really, I
well,
would be I would be sick of it.
yeah, I'm looking at William Shatner's character, Captain Kirk, and he would grab the women and kiss them, and he would go off of unspoken biological cues, then body signals, and he would kiss the women in the show. Now today that's considered rape or sexual assault to
Exactly.
feminists.
His
So
character, who his fans have wanted him to be, really, you know, I mean, have wanted him to be in real life. His whole character and attitude and kind of this thing, I mean, he was kind of a chauvinistic character in a way, but in an enjoyable, fun way that everybody loved him because he did the right thing and he was a good person, you know? But I think it's just kind of part of it goes with who he has become over the years because he's had to be this character for so long.
Well, something also interesting about this is um, at first he was saying, well, you know, a woman doesn't belong on the bridge. And Kate Mulgrew said in response, well, maybe a woman's place is in the kitchen. No one's attacking her for saying that, for
I
making a
love her.
joke of her place being in a kitchen.
mm,
And look at what she does on Orange is the New Black. She runs the kitchen.
oh, more humor, huh? Uh-oh. Can't have that.
Well, no, we can have it so long as it's a woman saying it.
Yeah, yeah.
Then it's funny, but if it's a man
That
saying it,
interesting.
he just hates women.
Exactly. Unless it, you know, but the thing is, and it's surprising, you know, of course she didn't get attacked for it because she's a female celebrity. She's not going to get attacked for it unless she, you know, says something a lot worse, and then she'll get attacked and be forced to make a statement and all that crap like other female celebrities who've just simply said, I'm not a feminist, have been attacked for. But she didn't say, I'm not a feminist. She just made a joke. So they're not touching her.
Yeah. So, you know, I think this is kind of interesting that now it kind of seems like William Shatner is kind of taking the red pill because he's actually said the word misandrist in a tweet, which it's kind of interesting. You don't really use that word unless you really know what that word means.
Yeah.
But it's like the word misogynist is just used in every which way possible, even if it's out of context.
Yeah, I would have to say that would have to be one of the. I think I've only heard a celebrity use that word maybe 3 times at most, 3 different celebrities maybe. So that's very noteworthy.
Exactly, because, misandry doesn't exist. Only misogyny exists. Fucking idiots.
Now, I won't say that William Shatner is like a men's rights, and I'm not going to say that he's really taken the red pill, but it seems like he might be aware of, you know, how things really are in this world. So it's at least noteworthy, but him going up against the Mary Sue, it just kind of makes me think of like Hulk Hogan going up against Gawker. And it's like these companies, these websites kind of need to think twice before going up against these really popular people, because I mean, I know that's kind of their job, that's what they do, they go up against these celebrities and say whatever they want, but it's like you piss off the wrong celebrity, they're going to make your life hell.
Yeah. I mean, the Mary Sue, their stated goal is to topple the male-dominated nature of nerd culture. So, I mean, he's definitely going up against some real fanatics.
maybe it's a good thing that they went after him. You know, maybe it's a good thing they went after the wrong person. We may finally have a celebrity that will actually stand up to these people instead of just bowing down and saying, "Oh no, I identify as a feminist." Blah blah blah.
Oh yeah, and that's what I most respect about William Shatner in this. Do I think he was a jerk at the time? Yes, he was. But it's like, instead of giving him the benefit of the doubt that he was just making a joke and that he wasn't saying that women don't belong on the bridge or that a woman should be chopped up and put in a refrigerator, which is what the trope is named after, you know, he didn't bow down to the media pressure. I mean, he's 80 years old. He's pretty much set for the rest of his life. He doesn't need to kiss anyone's ass. He can just say, you know what? Fuck you. And
That's true, and I think that's
honesty.
Exactly. I think that he's in a unique position to be able to do that, where many celebrities aren't, because they're not set for life or they want to keep working, but he doesn't need to do that. You know, I think he is in a very unique position to actually tell the truth, and I hope he actually sticks with it. I hope he actually takes it a little further.
Yeah, he's in that admirable position where you can actually say what you want and not give a damn what people think about you, because, you know, like Chris said, he's 80 years old. You know, he's dealt with feminists probably his entire career, and he probably already knows how they're going to react, and, you know, he probably goes into some of those atmospheres and sits back and says, let me see if I can get a kick out of these bastards, you know. So he could just be trolling them, and, you know, they don't even know, because once again, they don't have a sense of humor.
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next article. And actually, this is going to be two articles back to back, and then we'll go ahead and discuss this in greater detail. The first is going to be California to begin teaching the LGBT curriculum to second graders. So this is a really short article, so I'll just read the whole thing. California is set to become the first state in the U.S. to incorporate an LGBT rights agenda into the public school curriculum. The curriculum reportedly be taught to students beginning in the second grade. The students will begin learning the nuance of modern family life, with second graders to learn that families can have two moms or two dads, and will progress from there through the rest of K through 12. Now, the California Superintendent of Public Instruction, Tom Torlaxon, had this to say: "This is a big win for our students. This document will improve the teaching and learning of history and social science. It will give our students access to the latest historical research and help them learn about the diversity of our state and the contributors of people and groups who may not have received the appropriate recognition in the past." Which, so far, I don't really know if that's actually true, if someone hasn't gotten the respect they deserve because of their sexuality, especially in the second grade. The curriculum has caused controversy among some parents and observers who feel this amounts to indoctrination of students. California has decided to include people into curriculum and celebrate them, no criticisms allowed apparently, based solely on their sexual behavior, said Jane Robbins, attorney and senior fellow at the American Principles Project, to Breitbart News. Interestingly, this type of curriculum has found itself banned overseas. Russia has strict laws against the LGBT propaganda being promoted to minors. The law passed unanimously by Russia's Duma prohibits the promotion of non-traditional sexual relations to children, though supporter of the law, Putin, has said that his duty is to protect the rights of the people with non-traditional sexual orientations. It remains to be seen whether this law will become commonplace in other U.S. states. Now, before we discuss that, because I'm sure we have a lot to say on that, I want to jump over to this article from the UK that also just came out, once it loads up. basically we're seeing kind of the same thing in the UK. Here we go. Schools banned from using the terms mom and dad, and boys told to dress up as girls in non-gender specific free play. So teachers are advised to no longer use terms mom and dad. The instructions have been released by the NSW Teachers Union on a way to address the LGBTI issues. When the hell was there an I in that acronym? Within the school environment. Now, the latest guideline for non-gender specific free play comes in the wake of a string of drastic political correctness measures taken by Australian schools. Now, I'm not going to read this section here because we're about to cover it, but I do want to point out that August 3rd is Grand Friends Day. Not Grandparents' Day, probably because not everyone has grandparents, but grand friends. So we can't even say the word parents. We can't say mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, or parents. It's just funny to me. On Tuesday, teachers at the exclusive school, well, it's a girls' high school, I can't say the name, in northwest Sydney were asked to refer to the pupils with gender-neutral language such as students. The move has angered some parents who believe their children are now forced to feel excluded if they don't take part in LGBT activities. A primary school is banning children from clapping at schools' assemblies because it's too noisy and distresses some students. You know what? I have a problem with noise, and I would still not want anyone to be stopped from clapping. I can't speak today. Another public school in Sydney told parents about a new silent cheer policy in a newsletter this week. The practice has been adopted to respect members of our school community who are sensitive to noise. Instead of clapping, the students are free to punch the air, pull excited faces, and wiggle about on the spot. They said teachers will prompt students to perform a silent cheer when needed. Teachers have also found the silent cheer to be a great way to expend children's energy and reduce fidgeting. That's because all they're doing is fidgeting. Daily Mail Australia has contacted them for comment. In April, Greenlawn St. Patrick's Primary School banned hugging, encouraged students to show affection such as high-fiving. In December, calls were made to a Victorian government for Christmas carols with religious themes to be banned at schools across the state. And yeah, that's it for this article. So I turn it over to my guests. What are your thoughts on all of this?
I think it's ridiculous to have children at a young age fight against their natural biology and how they naturally feel because of some retarded idea. It's because you don't want to hurt someone's feelsies. I do. I think this is becoming absolutely disgustingly ridiculous. And if my kids were taught that in school, I would have them taken out so goddamn fast your head would spin.
Yeah, I have to agree. And I'm wondering, why can't they just teach kids critical thinking and reading comprehension and, maybe how to use Google properly? Because, I talk to a lot of these young kids online now, and they've grown up with the internet, but you notice they don't really know how to even use Google to actually look something up and use it to illustrate their points and to back up their position on any issue. So it's quite frightening that they're learning all of this, how to walk on eggshells around everyone's feelings, but they don't know how to use sound reasoning and to how to debate or how to illustrate what they're thinking in a way that other people can get an idea of what they're trying to say. You know what I'm saying? So the schools really need to concentrate on what they're supposed to be doing, rather than teaching people to be oversensitive, producing these oversensitive snowflakes. You know, it's
Yes.
ridiculous.
There are values that should be taught at home and values that should be taught and things that should be taught at school. Values do not need to be taught at school. Values are something that the parents need to be involved in teaching. And I think the big problem is that we have an abundance of parents who are not doing their jobs. So, I mean, even in my schools, it's like, why should my kids who have great manners and who have been taught their value system, have to sit through these classes where, I mean, they already take time just to teach kids how to behave and act. They're not there for that. But parents aren't doing it, so the schools are forced to, you know, and that's ridiculous already, but this is just going way too far.
Well, you know, there's something that you said that, you know, children nowadays are not taught critical thinking skills. They don't even know how to use Google, though I would argue they know how to tell other people to use Google. In any conversation I have with most people today, it's like, well, you just go and do research on Google. And it's like, I have done research on Google. I probably know more about this than you do. You know what? I'm not against the presence of LGBT within school. I'm not. My problem is trying to introduce it into, like, the second grade. I mean, no child has a handle on their sexual orientation or anything sexual in the second grade. I mean, maybe the sixth grade there might be a start, you know, once they start going through puberty. Even
exactly.
That's a questionable thing. But, you know, the way it was like what we were talking about before the show. The way to end racism is to stop talking about it. The way to end bigotry and homophobia is to stop talking about it. And if you go out of your way to make a big deal about it, then people are going to make a big deal about it. We need to have children that are just accepted as normal. Oh, you have two mommies, you have two daddies? That can be seen as normal. And well, you know, it really does depend on the parents to sit down with their children and say, you know what? Some people live different lives. Get used to it.
Well, see, I don't disagree with them teaching that LGBT people are human beings, but you know, all of this stuff, it has to be done in context. You know, it has to be done in the wider presentation of history, social studies, and things of that nature, versus you highlighting someone just because they're gay or just because they're black. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't celebrate George Washington because he was heterosexual. We don't go into we don't give him a round of applause because of how many women he slept with. You know what I'm saying? And so we shouldn't be doing the same thing in reverse with homosexuals or the LGBT crowd. It should be done in context where you're celebrating this person's accomplishments, but you're saying, okay, and by the way, this person had a boyfriend or a girlfriend, just like you do with the George Washington or, you know, some other important historical figure.
I agree. Some of my best friends are gay. In fact, two of my best friends live across the street and they're married. They're husbands. I call them my boys. I love them to death. And they're more conservative than most people. You know, they would flip the fuck out if this shit was being taught in schools. They're like, no, that is ridiculous and wrong. And if these kids are gay, you're just gonna fuck them up more by telling them how they should feel or what they should do.
Well, the other flip side to this is spending so much focus on LGBT. You know, it's like what the Australian article said. It makes those students who are straight that don't subscribe into the LGBT thing feel excluded. Because it's like, we're going to pay special attention to the LGBT. We're going to pay special attention to what's it like to be gay in this world and how straights are the problem. And bigotry and
Exactly.
all of that, and all you're going to do is tell straight children you're the problem. I mean,
It's
we're
just like
already
them
seeing
teaching.
that with so many other things, especially with race and gender.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. They're already these. There's a lot of there are schools that are teaching white kids that they are that they are automatically racist. There are schools now teaching that, and it's like if my kids,
Sad.
I've taught my kids from the time. Oh my, I live in the South. Almost every single one of my kids' friends is black.
Yeah.
And it's and
I
I'm
live in
like
the
I've
South too.
taught my kids that racism is evil. So if they went to school and were taught that they were racist and they came home and said, "Mom, they taught us today that we're evil," I would go ballistic.
Well, speaking of that, I live about an hour southwest of Atlanta, and I don't know if you heard about that recent poetry concert where the white kid apologized for his white privilege.
Oh my God, I didn't.
Yeah, the media went crazy over it, and you got interviews and everything. So basically, what they're teaching these kids is that white guilt is the way to success. You know.
Oh, I did a video on that, where I actually talked about a lot of his points
Oh,
and
did you?
even showed examples of how he's like incorrect about a lot of things he said. And I have gotten so much backlash
Hmm.
for my video. And,
Well, I got to tell you, me as a black man, I think it's kind of odd when people aren't allowed to be proud of who they are, regardless of what color you are. You know, you should be proud of your background, your ancestors, your forefathers. Notice I said forefathers and not just foremothers, which would probably be the politically correct way to say it. But you
Oh
should
God,
be,
that's sick.
it's just so acceptable that it's for white people to bash all of their forefathers and say, yes, they were all racist, yes, they were all sexist. And I know as a black man, I'm not going to do that. I think that's disgraceful. You should love who you are, and before you can care about anybody else, you have to care about yourself. You have to be allowed to care about yourself. And
Exactly. And if we can't be proud of who we are, how can we be proud of, how can we accomplish anything when all we're focused on is how horrible we are as a person?
now one
You
of the
know?
things that people have
yeah,
said in response to my video is like, it's okay to be happy with who you are. You just got to be aware of your privilege. And it just keeps coming back to privilege because I'm saying white privilege doesn't exist. And if it does, then there's black privilege, there's Asian privilege, there's female privilege, there's male privilege. Everyone has privilege to some degree, but it's a zero-sum game to these people.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah, it's like,
white people have privilege, no one else has privilege. So
oh,
that's
really? Because my best
why
friend, who had the highest who had the highest SAT scores in our class and was almost guaranteed a scholarship, lost out to somebody with lower scores, less extracurriculars, everything, and it was not able to go to college because the girl was Mexican and they needed and because of affirmative action. So really.
And that was one thing that I was watching Morgan Freeman this morning, and they were asking him like, do you think that there's still a racist issue? Do you think that there's still like a white privilege? And he's like, no, there isn't. And he's like, well, what do you mean? It's like, you and me are proof, because the other person was black. It's like, you have a goal in life, you focus on it, and you make it happen.
yeah, I love Morgan Freeman.
So do I.
So do I.
And I mean, it takes a lot of courage today to say something like that, because he could make a lot more money and sell a lot more movie tickets by trying to conform. But I'm going to disagree with him slightly. I do believe that there are still some racial issues. However, I think that the brown racism is more acceptable, is openly more acceptable than white racism. White
Yeah.
racism has been pushed to the fringes And I mean, you will get some racist comments from some fake profiles online and stuff like that. If they see you're a black person, but you know, you're looking at that and you're like, this is actually cowardice, Whereas the black racism, the brown racism is in your face. It's well funded. And these people actually get into leadership positions for exhibiting this form of bigotry. A prime example is the Leslie Jones situation, the actress from the Ghostbusters movie.
Free Milo.
Yeah, and I mean, she has a long, well-established history of being racist against white people in her tweets. I mean, it's really extreme bigotry. And so now that she's finally getting a backlash from some white, assuming that they're white, because most of them, once again, appear to be fake profiles, but now that she's getting some backlash, she's the victim. She's being paraded around the media. She's being given these interviews and stuff like that. And that her status in Hollywood is going to go up now because she's played the victim role. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And
what's happened to Jennifer Lawrence? She played the victim, and suddenly she's a big star.
Yeah, that's true. I just don't. And that's why I say there's a lot of parallels between from how women are treated in society and how black people are treated.
Let me tell you guys. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I just want to finish this. I just don't understand this bottomless appetite for portraying yourself as a victim because of because you have a vagina or because you have brown skin. I just don't understand it.
Neither do I. I got to tell you, the most angry I've ever been in my life. I was born and raised in Seattle, Washington, and I spent the first 30 years of my life there. Moved down south, and my kids were very young when we moved here. And, like I said, down south, almost all their friends are black. The first time my daughter was called a racist, she was 5 years old because she said the word black. I've never been more angry in my life.
Yeah, that's terrible.
It's ridiculous. It's gone to, kids are being taught to call white kids racist. She was in kindergarten, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
All of her friends are black, but she's a racist? It's because she said the word black. That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not like any other worse term you could call a black person. I can't think of another word in the entire English language to call a black person. Black is it. That's the worst thing.
And it's because she had to come inside to get more sunscreen on. She was playing out in her friends in the heat, and she's, I'm pale. She's pale. And her friend said, oh, we don't need to put more sunscreen on. And she asked a question. She said, why? Is it because you're black? She was a kindergarten. It was an honest question.
Yeah.
Is it because your skin doesn't burn? She really wanted to know. That's it.
No, that's ridiculous. But, I feel sorry for students today, and going back to the thing in Australia, because we are seeing the same thing happening in America, where children are being almost herded like cats or cattle, saying you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't think this way, you can't be creative, you can't learn to think for yourself. You are either a part of the victimhood or you're the oppressor. We're teaching this to children, and I almost guarantee we're going to increase the amount of suicide for men in the next generation because all of these people are being told they're the problem. And that we're not giving people a creative outlet, especially boys. We need to play sports. We need to get into fights. We need to play tag. Yes. We're not being allowed to do these things.
It's like the whole argument about, it's funny, my son just brought this up this morning. He's like, like Anita Sarkeesian, and he got all mad. It was funny, he's 11. He got all upset, and he said, she makes me so mad because he said, violent video games actually help get out anger and frustration. They really, and my 11-year-old knows this. And this, and people, they help. My husband has a horrible day at work. He's had a gun pulled on him at work. He has a really hard job, and he comes home and he's had a horrible day. And guess what? Instead of being miserable the rest of the night and taking out on us, he can sit down and kill zombies for an hour and feel better. It's important, but no, it's violence and it's this and that. And boys can't, you're going to encourage boys to be violent. Bullshit. It's the opposite. These people are insane.
I was making the same argument your son was when I was his age, because the big issue we had was like the blood graphics in Mortal Kombat, and hearing all the parental groups that playing Mortal Kombat will cause children to go out there and be violent. And I'd be like, I made a joke to my friends. It was like, oh, Mom, I'm going out. I'm going to do a fatality to my friend. Not said by anyone.
That's great.
So let's go ahead and move on to our next article, which we've already sort of talked about. Conservative writer Cassie Dillon suspended from Twitter after repeating Leslie Jones.
What?
Oh, yeah, this is a great article.
You gotta be kidding me.
I'm surprised this didn't come across your feed, Prentice.
Jesus.
All right.
So everybody's lost their brainwashed, retarded collective mind. I'm just, it's like, I'm fucking done. I'm sorry. I'm so done with all this shit.
All right, let me read this article. Cassie Dillon, a contributor to Campus Reform and Heat Street, and founder of Lone Conservative, was suspended temporarily from Twitter following tweets made about Leslie Jones. While Twitter has not returned a request for comment, the suspension appears to be related to an experiment in which Dillon repeated Jones's tweet word for word in an effort to expose bias. The original tweet was at Dolphin Toucher, which Leslie Jones says, "You and your friends are bigots. If you don't like me, why the fuck do you watch, let alone contact me? Kill yourself, bigot." So, Cassie Dillon had a tweet sent to Leslie Jones, same thing, and she got suspended for it.
Wow. I'm looking at it there. I mean, that's incredible. And this is something that you're seeing happen all over social media. This is Twitter. And now we know that Twitter, the administration job for Twitter has been openly given over to feminists.
Yep.
That was reported in the media, I think, like last year. But on Facebook, you also see this mass of bannings, this stream of bannings happening for people actually screenshotting other people and or quoting their exact same words. And they get banned, and they end up with these 5 and 6 day bans for just repeating someone else's words. It's totally ridiculous.
Let me go ahead and finish the
I think they're on their way out.
Let me finish the rest of this article. The only reason why I tweeted copies of what Leslie said is to show bias. If this famous actress does it, it's okay. But if I do the same thing as a conservative writer, Twitter punishes me for it. Dillon believes that the suspension was in part because she has been campaigning hard to reinstate Milo Yiannopoulos to Twitter, pushing the Free Milo hashtag. What is strange about the suspension is who was not suspended by Twitter. People who've tweeted death threats and the like aimed at Dillon. For instance, whatever that name is, when she said that Twitter is a real Israeli mad, someone said, 100% kill this hoe. An actual death threat, and Twitter does nothing about it. And Dillon's serial harasser, she don't text back, who often sends her threats of sexual harassment, is for some reason not suspended either. Some of the tweets. Twitter banned Young Conservative for complaining about death threats. You can't be serious. And then she don't text back. It's like, I'm just eating pizza, drunk, texting, and they got her racist ass up out of here. That's what you get, sperm deposit. Kelly Dinnan had all the white America try to ban me and get me fired. Thousands of ban requests. I request to ban her one time. Bitch gone. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about this further.
Well, maybe she just needs to put on a pantsuit and change her name to Hillary Clinton, and she can then get people to ban others on her behalf and censor other people. You know, as our eventual president Hillary Clinton is doing right now. But yeah, I mean, it just goes to show you how little freedom of speech you have on social media now, and you know, hopefully she's trying to amend the process and trying to get reinstated or whatever. But I mean, this is basically what we're facing today, and there's not really too much you can do about it except expose it the way Heat Street is doing. And is that Campus Reform? Is that the website, Campus Reform? That
let me go back to the top. Yes, Campus Reform.
Wonderful website. I love that website. But that's about all we can do, really, is expose it at this point and let the world know that we see what they're doing, and we're not going to put up with it, you know.
Yeah, they got to know that there is a large group of people out there that doesn't buy into their bullshit. They really do, because the way they look at it, you know, anybody who doesn't is just, you know, scum and doesn't matter. Well, no, that's not the reality of it. The reality is that you have the loudest people on your side, but you know what? Hey, honey.
Hi.
But you know, they have the loudest on their side, but we do, I think, have the majority. People, it's just that the majority doesn't speak out as much. I think we need to get more people who are like-minded like us and have common sense to actually speak out and expose these things.
Hi, boobs.
What's up, my dick?
Hello.
Well, you know, what's interesting is that Leslie Jones is a racist. She has so many racist tweets against white people, but because we believe in this idea that you can't be racist to white people, it's okay. But if I took her comments and flipped it around and used derogatory terms to black people and replaced every time she says white people with black people, I would probably be permanently banned from Twitter.
Well, here's the part that cracks me up about her. You know, she's so paranoid about racism everywhere else, but the movie she's playing in, and I actually think the timing of all this so-called attacks and stuff like that is quite convenient to try to save this Ghostbusters movie. But anyway, you know, she actually plays as a human stereotype in the movie. You know, this is a loud, belligerent black woman who slaps people and is overly superstitious, you know, and so she's getting paid to perpetuate stereotypes.
You know, honestly,
Lordy, here comes the ghost. Lord, help me.
Yeah, honestly, that's just how she acts in general. She's a racist stereotype.
Yeah.
And I think that when she came on the movie set, they just like, oh, you don't need to do any acting, just be yourself.
Wow. They said,
wow.
Well, we're going to pay you millions to slap white women. And she said, oh, sign me up.
Yeah. My kids, as soon as I said that, that lordy, my kids are like, what the hell are you doing? They go walking around the corner.
So, yeah, I mean, it's great that we can actually show actual bias, that it's like word for word what Leslie Jones said when said back at Leslie Jones. Although I'm surprised I haven't been suspended from Twitter when I tweeted to Leslie Jones, take a second to look at your tweet before sending it. Grammar goes a long way. I mean, it was just atrocious that night how bad her tweets are. Even that tweet was pretty bad that she
She's
did.
a good example of the failings of the school system.
Yeah, the poster child, I would say.
So, Medusa, you just kind of came in the middle of this. We're discussing that Cassie Dillon was suspended from Twitter because she took a tweet from Leslie Jones and tweeted it back at her, and that's what got her suspended.
How does that make any sense at all?
It doesn't. Well, it's because Leslie Jones is a black woman, so she needs to be protected. But because Cassie Dillon is a white woman, she just can be suspended. Oh, and a conservative. That's the important thing. You know, I'm not really a conservative. I do agree with conservatives on a number of things, but there really is this push by social media to get rid of conservatism. And there is the argument that's given that it's like, well, these are private websites. They can do whatever they want. Okay, that's all well and fine, but you've got to be consistent in what you're doing. If you show favoritism, that goes against the users themselves. Now, if you said no political thought was allowed, and then, you know, you got conservatives and liberals posting all the time and you just ban conservatives, that's still showing favoritism.
Yep, it is, and that's exactly what they're doing. It's disgusting. It's completely disgusting. They're just pushing their political agenda through bullshit.
And I mean, I'm not a conservative either, but you know, I do kind of consider myself a libertarian, I would say. But
yay, agreed.
But I mean, if they really were wise, they would see that the conservatives and the government have been their best friends on a lot of issues, especially in regards to the recent selective service bills that have come across Congress. The conservatives were the main ones rushing in there to save women and prevent them from being drafted. You know, and of course the leftists were kind of saying, well, you know, we don't disagree with women being drafted per se, but we would prefer to end the draft completely. You know, and now so conveniently, just when women were about to be drafted, they were against the draft completely.
Oh, that pissed me off so much when that happened, because, you know, the draft has been in existence for 99 years, and men have been required to sign up. In 1980, they made it that there are punishments if you don't sign up for the draft. And also in 1980, they said that women couldn't be a part of the draft because they're not in frontline combat positions. Still bad, but understandable. Now they are. It's like, do we really need it anymore? It's like, oh, I want to bitch slap every member of Congress.
Exactly.
For even suggesting that.
So on the one hand, they can join every branch of the military and are expected to get promoted at the same rate as men, while not having to sign up for the draft at 18 and things of that nature. So it's really hypocritical. And you know, me being a war vet, I'm really tickled just sitting back watching it.
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, women don't. That's the whole thing. Feminists say they want equality. That's bullshit. They do not want equality. They want superiority. It is a big freaking lie. If they really wanted equality, then you know what? We'll give it to them. They don't realize. They sit there and bitch about people's comments on the internet. They have no clue that were they a man saying that shit, they would get 50 million times more flack.
Yeah.
They don't understand that. They want, oh, we want equality, but we're harassed on the internet, blah, blah, blah. If you were a man, you would get it a million times worse for saying the same thing. So don't you dare tell me you want equality.
But I swear, every time there's a point in history where women are about to face the consequences of the equality that the women's groups called for, here come the conservatives with their capes on to prevent them from facing the consequences for their actions and advocacy. Another recent an example is that the incident where the high school girl in Alaska, the transgender high school girl is going up against the regular high school girls, and so in come the conservatives to say, nope, we can't let these girls go up against this boy, you know, uh, because they're afraid of them failing. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, well, this is what the women's groups have called for. So, you know, why are you trying to prevent it from
And they're
happening?
big fat liars. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, they have to let women grow up, and they don't want to let women grow up.
It was I think it was Ted Cruz who really pissed me off, or one of those people, with the whole female draft thing, and he's like, I can't in good conscience send my daughters off to war.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do you think mothers wanted to send their sons off to war? You
Just his
selfish prick.
daughters. Does anybody know if he has sons?
He has daughters. He has two
No, he
daughters.
doesn't. He has two daughters. So I think it was. I think I think he was looking at it from kind of a different perspective. As he's got two daughters, so they're daddy's girls, and I get that. I understand, but at the same time, it was kind of he should have thought a little bit more before he said that, I think.
He doesn't need to. He was already elected.
But I think personally it would really give women an opportunity to mature culturally if they were allowed to be drafted and put into female only units. Don't mix them with men, because what's going to happen is the men are going to white knight for them and take bullets for them and stuff like that, because that's what men tend to do in mixed units in wartime. So put them in their own units, send them on their own missions, let them prove themselves in society, give them the opportunity to fail, for once in history. And if they fail, then you just go back to the drawing board and say, okay, this was a monumental failure. Let's sit down and have a discussion about this. But a lot of these naive male politicians just would not allow that to happen.
Well, I don't know if you heard about this, but Lieutenant Colonel Kate Germano, I mean, she was an instructor at a Marine Corps training camp, and her job was to get women up to the same standard as men, and
Okay.
she was
that
actually successful.
Was that the woman in the Marines, or
Yes.
was this? Okay, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, she was actually raising their sharpshooter skills, their gun skills, and the girls complained because they were too tough on her, and she got booted out from that position.
And once again, I bet you men came in and said, nope, can't allow this to happen. Once again, a lot of them probably conservatives. They came in and said, no, can't allow this to happen. Now, this isn't bashing all conservatives, because all conservatives aren't like that, but the ones in power do tend to be like that. We have to, especially just the upper class in general. Men tend to be pretty naive about women, and I know personally from being a war vet myself and serving in a co-ed unit, a mixed unit, that women are capable of a lot more than society is willing to admit and willing to hold them accountable to. And I would see, the female soldiers who I knew were very capable, very physically fit, very strong, and they would play helpless when they saw, a certain amount of men around. And when it was time to fill sandbags and, place them around the barracks and the dwellings to absorb the shrapnel, a lot of the women disappeared. They would be in the mess hall cooking food or washing dishes or something like that, and the guys would let them get away with it. So we just have to question that instinct where we allow women to play helpless, and in order to actually have women achieve equality, we have to raise them in not a identical culture, but somewhat of an equal but different culture.
And see,
You
that's
know.
why I somewhat this is why I disagree with a big part of feminism too, because I mean, yeah, equality is not the word for what they want. They're lying about it. They say they want equal pay. No, they just want to be treated better. But the thing is, they don't realize they already have the better treatment. Feminism has already achieved its goal, and then some.
Yeah.
It's time to stop now.
Well, I want to
You
go
know,
ahead and stop you there real quick. There was a comment made on this article, but I can't find it anymore. But it talked about something called GNU Social, and I wanted to talk about this real quick. It's something that I've recently joined, and it's okay. What it is basically an alternative to Twitter. And I think this is what we need, is we need to show Twitter we're sick of it. We're sick and tired of the crap they put us through, the double standards they have, and we need to show them that, we're willing to leave at a moment's notice. Now, it's hard for me to leave Twitter because the writing world is very much centered on Twitter. Of all the social media, Twitter is the place that writers go. But I've started using this to post other tweets than that. Now, there are a couple of different ones that you can join. The one that Hannah Wallen recently mentioned was sealion.club, which I'll show you in just a moment. But as you can see, there are a lot of options to choose from. I've put down in the description down below some other ones that I have joined as @madcat. And this is sealion.club. And yeah, as you can see, it pretty much looks like Twitter. I've gotten a few followers so far. And I think that we should start getting people onto the... Oh, that's awful looking. We should...
Sealion.club.
What's up?
Sealion.club. I'm trying to remember that. That's...
Well, it's in the description down below, so...
Awesome.
But we need... I would like to see this evolve. It's in its early stages. Sometimes the website can't load up because there's just like an influx of people joining, growing pains. But we need an alternative to Twitter. And I don't think this can replace Twitter in any shape or way. But if we start diverting traffic away from Twitter onto this, it's going to attack Twitter where it counts the most. Their pockets.
Mm-hmm. I just need them to make an app for a cell phone, and I'm in.
Yeah. We attack Twitter's money, they'll start taking us seriously. We can protest all we want. We can tell Twitter they're wrong all they want. They won't care. If we stop going on their site... What's up?
Vote with your wallet and purse. I like that.
So I just wanted to go ahead and put this out there. I think that this is a good idea. I think we should try to get more people involved in this. So I wanted to interrupt momentarily about that, but I just feel like what we're seeing right now with feminism and all of these snowflake groups is actually a good thing. And I know how strange that sounds, but there's the saying, things get worse before they get better.
The darkest before the dawn.
Yeah.
Exactly. And what we're seeing right now is these groups are getting desperate. It's not so easy anymore, so they have to take cheap shots. Once upon a time, a woman could have cried out and everyone would have rushed to her. Now people are like a little bit hesitant. Like, I don't know if I want to get anywhere near that. I don't know if I want to immediately believe a woman.
And they're also straight out laughing at them. I see that a lot too. Just straight out laughing at them when they act ridiculous.
Well, I like how Karen Strong described it in one of her videos. She called it the femocalypse. And I think that's the sort of scenario we're eventually going to end up in. I think we're going to see a situation where the motivation is destroyed in young men to the point where you're going to have a society that's going to collapse under the own weight of its decadence. And especially in terms of keeping an economy going, if our economy exists on the expectation of young men to continue this sort of Calvinist workhorse work ethic, and you got a lot of MGTOWs coming up, so-called herbivore men, who are like, man, fuck that. I'm going to play my video games and watch my porn, and I'm just going to sit back and watch this shit collapse. And
if I were born a man, I would be a MGTOW, 1,000%.
Yeah, and I mean, you see it in the young men now. They do not give a shit. They're not pursuing women. They're not going outside. These guys are playing Grand Theft Auto until they waste away in front of the television, and they don't give a shit, man. And you can't blame them. It's hard. It's difficult to blame them, because society simply does not reward masculinity the way that it used to, in the Calvinist sense. The hard work ethic that they used to exhibit.
And it looks like we lost Babbling Brook. But what's funny is that it's like Japan and Germany are actually noticing a decrease in population and predict that it's going to have a drastic decrease in the next 50 years. But feminists are really, really attacking the MGTOW movement, all these men that just don't want to get into relationships. Like, they're trying to guilt them into going on dates with women. It's like, oh, well, these are just losers anyways. These men couldn't get dates anyways. They're just cowards. They don't want to be men. They don't want to fulfill their societal role, And it's like they're trying to challenge them. It's like what they're really saying is, we need you to start dating us, or else we'll have to start paying for our own meals.
Well, I think they need to look at it from men's perspective, and I know this is an impossibility for them, but when you're going into a university as a young man, and the female to male ratio was something like 3 to 1, and you can go to a frat party every weekend or on every special occasion, and you can bang 3 or 4 women per guy, regardless of whether you have a 4.0 or a 2.0, or you don't even have to be attending the university. So you have to, and if a young man's motivation is female sexual selection, okay, because women are the sexual gatekeepers in most mammalian species, what is going to motivate that young man to kill himself at work or to, strive for that 4.0 if he's getting 3 or 4 women per guy just for showing up?
True. But another thing that's happening at colleges, though, is what we're seeing in these schools and what we've been talking about today is we're immediately putting the fear into women. Like Brian Martinez, he talked about the first day of a new semester, and they had some makeshift orientation in the cafeteria, and they let it slip like, hey, remember, ladies, be safe, because 1 in 3 men will rape if they get the opportunity. And it's like all the women just suddenly started looking around at all the men like they were uncertain. And it's like, that is just fear-mongering right there. You're immediately telling women not to trust men whatsoever. What man wants to live in a society where they're automatically labeled a rapist just for having a penis?
It's disgusting. It makes me sick. It's regardless of gender, race, whatever. Putting people in a group based on their gender, their race. Every single person is different based on life experiences. Nobody is the same. You know, there are people who have, who are predisposed to criminal activity. There's people that aren't. It doesn't, it's not based on whether you have a penis or a vagina or the color of your skin. And to think it is just fucking retarded on a grand scale.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, that's true. And what's so hypocritical about it is, on the one hand, or on the surface, they're pretending to care so much about minorities, and they're using black men as poster children, for the or mascots in these Black Lives Matter type of groups. And beneath the surface, what they're doing is, these same college professors and stuff like that, they're creating a culture which is putting into place laws and penalties that are based on rape hysteria, total hysteria. And what's happening is it's imprisoning black and brown men at a much higher rate than would be happening if they weren't creating this hysteria. So it's hypocritical, but we just have to try to keep our sanity as much as we can, and we have to try to change things with our own children. That's where we really can change things, with our own children and with our own family members and in our own community. And
that's what makes me so sad. I look at my neighborhood and I think, are my kids going to be able to have a neighborhood like this, where it doesn't matter what color your skin is? All the kids have grown up together. I mean, we're all protective of each other's kids. We have a nice little neighborhood here, and black, white, it doesn't matter. We all keep an eye out for each other and all that stuff. And I see Black Lives Matter and how close it is to my area and how close Dallas is to here. And I'm just like, are my kids going to be able to even have a community like this when they grow up? I cried over it. I did. I cried. I'm not a crier, but I cried.
Yeah. Well, I want to take a moment and give Vanessa a chance to speak. She likes to stay silent until I call on her. So, speak!
What do you want?
She says, speak, woman.
What's up?
Has anyone ever told you you're as boring as you are ugly? You will not provoke me.
I'm not boring or ugly. That's horrible to say.
What?
Okay, maybe a little.
Oh god.
Vanessa?
Yeah.
Anything you want to add to this?
Oh god, I don't know. I mean, it's all bullshit. I'm just spectating, really. Plus, I'm pretty stoned, so.
We've had this
discussion. Good for you, I'm out.
When are you not stoned?
What?
When are you not stoned?
Oh, yeah, I know. Well, I'm sleeping.
But my issue with the Black Lives Matter movement is, you claim to be saying that Black Lives Matter, and that's great. Yeah, all lives matter, or should matter, but you're going to block traffic and pretty much dare people to run you over, and that's your go-to policy to prove to people that Black Lives Matter?
Well, have you seen the recent video where they actually stood in front of an ambulance with its sirens blaring?
Oh,
that made me really angry, and I mean, I'm like, man, I mean, they're actually creating real racists. I mean, they are better at recruiting real racists than creating real racists than the damn KKK, man.
I swear, Black Lives Matter is a recruitment tool by the KKK.
They might as well be. I'm like, you're blocking traffic and forcing people to lose their jobs, and like the case you brought up, endangering people's families, and you want to tell them or hold up a sign while you're doing it saying Black Lives Matter.
You know what
exactly. They're going to cause a bunch of people who never even looked at race before as an issue to become racist.
Well, something that was also in the news recently was there was a group of black protesters who met with police and had a picnic and, got a lot of things discussed. and Black Lives Matter came out on top of this and like, this is not an official Black Lives Matter event. They have nothing to do with us.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Offensive so much, like, this is not how we run things. And it's like,
Yeah, they didn't
You're right. You run things by railroading everybody down and forcing them to accept your bullshit. And you know what? No one's standing for it anymore because it is bullshit. Anyone with half a brain can see that.
And you know, like I said, I come from a 98% black community, so it's really troubling because I've seen racial relations get worse since 2008, I would say, rather than getting better. You know, you have a black president in office and you expect things to get better, but you know, all of these identity politic groups, they're actually segregating themselves. You know.
Oh yeah, and I think Obama's made it worse by jumping on the bandwagon every time something happens before the facts come forward.
Yeah, yeah.
oh yeah.
I mean, he's unfortunately played into it quite a bit by saying, you know, this person is my son who was shot, and you know, all of this kind of crap. And like you say, the facts hadn't even come out yet, and so he's actually helping further the division. And I'm not even sure if he knows what he's doing. A lot of times, I think they're just speaking to the common denominator, and they know what fills their pockets. You know. So,
I give him a little more credit than that. I think he does know what he's doing.
yeah.
Oh yeah, I do too. I want to take a comment from Warped Reflection. She makes a very good point that black feminists speak about black men way worse than white feminists speak about white men, and they're fucking scary.
Well, it's interesting because you have to go back to the mother of second wave feminism, Betty Friedan. And it's funny because every time I realize or see something like that where, you know, these black female feminist leaders or figureheads on BuzzFeed or, you know, a lot of these social media pages and stuff like that, I'm like, man, I'm sitting back, I'm like, do you know the history of feminism? Betty Friedan actually said she had to basically brainwash black women into becoming feminists. And she said she wanted to smack them. She wanted to smack them because when she tried to sell them the feminist Kool-Aid, most of them said, no, we don't want to become feminists. We support black men. And she said she wanted to smack them. Yeah. And when she was campaigning for Shirley Chisholm's presidential campaign, and this is how out of touch she was with racial relations. She actually went out to the city and was handing out watermelons to black people.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you know, totally ridiculous. And but this
Come get some watermelons and fried chicken and some great Kool-Aid and listen to my spiel.
So yeah, exactly. So here's this upper middle class white woman, you know, handing out watermelons and saying she wanted to smack black women for.
What a bitch!
Are we sure that she wasn't trying to set up an elaborate trap? Like, here, take this watermelon, which you have to hold with both hands just so she could slap the black woman.
Exactly. And
I mean, if I was going to slap a black woman, that's what I would do.
I mean,
exactly. Here, hold my baby. Crack.
What's even more hilarious about her was that, you know, here's a Jewish woman, you know, she's born Jewish, but she's actually an atheist. But she actually, in her book, The Feminine Mystique, written in 1963, she actually compared American housewives to concentration camp inmates. And she said American housewife is in as much danger as concentration camp inmates. So,
what? Okay, yeah. I am a housewife, so you know that really pisses me off.
So she was even culturally insensitive against her own people. I mean, that's how ridiculous
Well, they still are. The feminisms, oh my God, I'm enemy number one. Are you kidding me? I'm a happily married mother of two and I'm a housewife. I am enemy. They fucking hate me. Hate me.
And that's because they're jealous of you. That's why they hate you. They have all of their...
Because I'm happy.
Because you're happy. They have all of their degrees. They have their careers. You know, they have their closet full of dildos. And they're still not happy. But, you know, you just being a housewife, you're happy. And they see you with your children and your beautiful family. And, I mean, they're simmering. You know, they're simmering because they don't have any happiness. You
exactly.
know, they can't look at a comedy and get a laugh out of the joke. You know, they
if
can't.
You're happy and you know it, tell feminists to fuck themselves.
Fuck yourselves, feminists.
So that's sad, but you know, they're all going to end up being crazy cat ladies, unfortunately.
Yep. Old maids.
And they're just going to get more bitter. They're just going to get more bitter and more desperate.
It's pathetic, and they don't know how to find that happiness within themselves, because not only are they lying to the world, they really are lying to themselves too. These women are dead convinced about all of this crap that is not even true. And even it doesn't matter how many facts you put in front of them, they will never, ever, ever let go of their ideology and the word feminist. You know, I think a lot of feminists, especially the old school feminists, not the third wave, because they're just all out of their freaking minds, but, you know, like older, like my parents' age feminists, and I think they are actually egalitarians, a lot of them. You know, but they hold on to the word feminist, like they can't let go of it.
Yeah.
Well, in truth, what it really is that this is a problem that we see with people like in cults, which feminism is a cult, but it's like when you've been invested in something for so long, the longer you're invested in it, less likely you're willing to admit that you've been following something false. You know, many feminists have been in it since they were little children because their parents raised them this way. So when we present them evidence that says, hey, you're actually wrong about a lot of the things you're saying, their immediate response is, well, if that's true, then I've been wrong about a lot of things in my life. But I feel confident with who I am, so the other person must be wrong. There's no way I could be wrong. We call it self-serving bias, that everyone else is wrong, everyone else is at fault, and truth, you know, is just a tool of oppression. I mean, that's where the term sea lion comes from, which I didn't know about until someone explained it to me, is a person who tries to get people to use facts or to back up their claims. That's what sea lining is.
Well, I noticed what they do with women who aren't feminists and or you know, black people who don't hate white people. What they do is they'll say, "Oh, you're just trying to get attention from men, or you're just trying to get, you know, attention from white people." You know.
Oh yeah, I've actually made a video about that. I think my video was even called "No, we don't do this for male attention."
Well, I know I'm trying to get laid, so.
Yeah. But I mean, what an insult! You know, you're gonna tell a heterosexual woman, "Oh gosh, you know, you're trying to get attention from men."
Especially when it is, especially in my case, where, I mean, I've been with my husband for 13 and a half years. We've been married. Next August 19th is our 10-year wedding anniversary. And it's like, the last thing I am looking for is male attention. I just feel the need I use my channel basically for therapeutic reasons, to get this crap off my chest so it doesn't infect the rest of my life. You know? And I get that all the time. Oh, you're just doing it for male attention. No, that's honestly the last thing I want. Do you ever notice why my videos are filmed from the neck up? Because I don't want male attention.
Well, I just tell them,
call me.
Well, I always tell them, you know, I'm looking for positive attention from everybody because I love all people. You know.
Exactly. It's not that kind of male attention. You know what I mean? It's yes, we want we want to bring attention to what we're saying, not to ourselves specifically, you know?
Yeah. And you can't respond to their shaming tactics because they're experts at shaming tactics. So
Oh, I just laugh at them.
they expect you to get defensive and say, well, you know, I have this many black friends, or I have this many female friends, or you know.
I always just say, okie dokie, whatever you say.
Yeah, I mean,
I just say I have a lot of American friends.
So, you know, you have to make sure you're responding logically and not emotionally to their shame and tactics, because that's what they expect you to do.
And
that's what they're looking for. If you laugh at them, their point becomes totally invalid, you know, because it's just like, okay, whatever you say.
Well, it's interesting with my video where I'm discussing about white privilege and that slam poetry bullshit. I've had over 100 comments on that video. I think that's the most I've ever gotten for a video. I've not responded once. I don't need to. It's self-sustaining. Yeah. And actually, other people have come in and have actually defended me. And it's like, you know, he's a poor white man who's disabled. He has no privilege.
No such thing.
Exactly.
But, you know, I don't need to respond to these people at all. I think I might do a video response if it gets to 1,000 views. It's at like 950. But it amazes me how these people will go out of their way to attack something. I've gotten like more ad revenue because of that video than any video I've ever had before, because people just keep coming and commenting on it to say how much they hate it.
That's like my Shanty Binks video. Big Red. She did same thing. She and some of her friends, and people actually do think that it was the real, because she was shortly after she did that news thing where I'm going back on social media, and you know, why stay quiet? I get harassed anyways. And like right after that,
You're talking about that video where she was playing victim and the news was interviewing her. Oh God.
Yep. Yeah, I did a response video to the news. Yeah, and she went off in the comment section. A couple of her friends did too. It was pretty funny.
I missed it.
It was funny. You should go take a look. It's still all that. Yeah, and it's her. She talks like her too. It sounds like her.
Yeah, it's the first video I saw of you, Babbling Brook, and I'm like, oh,
awesome!
I need this woman in my life. I mean, in my play.
Always. Yeah, it was. I couldn't believe that. And you know, a lot of people, I responded to her once. I'm like, well, no, you don't take any personal responsibility for your part in this, and that's what's ridiculous. You're just acting like a victim. You honestly think that this is just about you telling one guy to shut up? You are out of your freaking mind. And it definitely sounded like her. She told me to fuck entirely off.
Well,
yeah, I thought.
And that goes right back to self-serving bias. I mean, she's saying, oh, well, people came out there and took video of me and put it on YouTube. And it's like, one, your group was responsible for pulling a fire alarm, which you were cheering, and that's just irresponsible behavior. You do that shit for an emergency. You don't do that to stop an event. Secondly, you probably had people there videoing you yourself. It's just that the men's rights were the first ones to put it on there, and it's not like they altered it in any way. They showed exactly what it was.
Yep, you put yourself in. I'm sorry, if you were out in public and you act like a jackass, you were taking the risk. That's all on you. That is your fault entirely. If you present yourself in public, you knew there were cameras rolling, you wanted all the attention on yourself. You were screaming your head out for everyone to shut up and listen to you. So don't you dare act like this is some, you know, crap that just got leaked out on the internet. You knew you were in the center of attention. You knew you were being filmed, and you still continue to act like a jackass. That is on you.
Well, now she's acting like the scared little 10-year-old girl You know, when in the videos, like Chris said at the actual event, she's leading the charge. They're pulling the fire alarm. She's cursing in people's faces and laughing about male suicide and singing mocking songs in response to men killing themselves. So you know, it's a little bit too late to play victim and to play helpless after that, I would say.
You know what?
Yeah, that's what I told her too. She commented on my video, and I said, in your exact words, Shanty, cry me a river.
You know who she's acting like is Brianna Wu. You remember when Brianna Wu got death threats and had to leave her home and she couldn't return, and a week later she's back in her home doing an interview?
Right? Yeah,
Which
exactly.
someone suggests that the reason why she had to leave her home wasn't because she had a death threat, but because she went on vacation.
Wow.
Wow. See, these women are such... They're just such dishonest, lying, horrible people. They're just bad people. Why can't our society look at this honestly? I mean, a lot of us do, but so many don't. Look at it honestly and say, you know what? These are just really bad people.
And I mean, they have to understand that there is a such thing as a female sociopath. You know, people don't like using that word when it comes to women, but
It's true.
I do. They're just
I know. I do. I think most of them are. I'm sorry.
I mean, you have to point at them and say sociopath. You know, if they have all the characteristics, you know, they're showing they don't have a conscience. That's a sociopath. You know,
If it looks like a duck and walks like a cunt. Sorry.
yeah,
It's a feminist.
I like how you said it.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, that's why a lot of people just don't believe there's such thing as evil in women. You know, there's such thing as an evil woman. You know.
There's evil. There is pure evil in women. A lot of times they'll get men to act it out for them because they're manipulative, but women are evil. Not all of them.
Because girls are taught from a very young age that they can do whatever they want and they can get away with it just by crying.
Exactly.
The moment they do that, everyone's like, no, please stop crying. Oh, no, I'll do anything for you just to stop crying.
Oh no, I don't play that shit. Not with my daughter. In fact, the one time that she acted, I told her she was acting like a feminist, she cried so hard, like it was the worst thing I ever could say to her. And I'm like, I was proud of her. I'm like, good girl. Good girl. Smart kid.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, unless we want to talk further, we're coming up to the 90-minute mark, which is when I usually stop.
Yeah, it's been great talking to you guys. I actually have to get going. But I had a blast talking to you guys. I'd love to come on the show again.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Well,
I love you, Medusa.
I'm a whore, so I'll
Yeah.
definitely have you come on for me.
Absolutely. Anytime. Anytime, Mad Cat.
At me.
Yes.
Oh, look at the gun show over there.
Yeah, 22 cal gun show.
Oh.
That's. Anywho, we're going to go ahead and wrap up today. I give special thanks to Prentice Reed and to Babbling Brook.
Been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Definitely
Absolute pleasure.
Back on. I am going on vacation next week, and I will be gone for 2 to 3 weeks. I'm going to be trying to have an interview with Prentice Reed in that time, so look out for that, but I don't know if we're going to be doing a BDSM video during that time. So probably a little bit of hiatus for me and Modern Medusa.
Yeah, I'm going to be flying out tomorrow, actually, for my vacation, so we're all kind of lined up in vacations here. I can't wait. I'm flying home to Seattle tomorrow, and I can't wait.
Safe travels.
Thank you. I haven't been home in 2 years, and I'm getting antsy.
Also, real quick, those who are interested in my play, all the male parts are filled up, but I am looking for some understudies. Sometimes people drop out of the project for various reasons, so if I have a couple of people in reserve, that'll be great. But women, I need lots and lots of women. Okay, I just need about 10. Can I get 10 women out there? Let me give you my phone number. but
Yes, it's an
very
awesome
good.
project. I promise. I'm already signed on. So women, seriously, hit up Mad Cat because this is going to be really, really epic.
And I'm actually talking to someone right now about adding music to it. So
Oh, I'm excited.
it's going to be a great project. So get with me. I'll probably do another video in a couple of days. Anyways, that's going to do it for me today. I know my guests need to get going, get away from me as fast as possible at least. So thank you. And once again, this is Dix.
Yeah, and I'm boobs.
She forgot.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
forgot her line. It's like, how
Yeah.
can you forget you have boobs?
No, I had to unmute myself.
Likely excuse. Anyways, have a good day.